Hi, Zoe Connolly here with Hospitality Spotlight, a hotel and travel tech recruiting firm, and welcome to Recruiting 101. Some of the information provided will be focused on the current state of the market, but will apply to any recruiting environment. This is a guide to hiring talented hospitality professionals. Today's course is all about preparing your team for recruitment success. In this new pandemic era, managers and recruiters will see the largest candidate pool they have ever seen. Here are some tips on how to prepare your team for recruiting success. In this webinar course, I will cover most aspects of recruiting. I've included some additional tips for the current and post-pandemic era. Please feel free to send your questions and thoughts to zoe@hospitalityspotlight.com. To share a little bit about me. As I mentioned, my name is Zoe Connolly, and I've been recruiting for over 15 years. The last 6 years have been solely focused on hospitality and travel tech. Unofficially, I have lived and provided the functions of talent acquisition and training for much, much longer. You'll find my articles published in Hotel Executive, eHotelier, and ERE. During this period of uncertainty, I'm hoping to provide some guidance and education to assist in your day-to-day recruiting and talent nurturing. Let's jump right in. Hoteliers should never underestimate the power of a strong brand. And a key part of good branding is your team. They are the heart and soul of your hotel company. During this time of recruitment preparation, take another look at your employer branding. Be clear about what you stand for and make sure your reward and recognition programs are given attention. Remember, they usually cost little to nothing for the property, but can mean quite a bit for an employee, especially during these hard times. What does a huge candidate pool mean? Remember that there will be a huge candidate pool, but there will also be a lot of hotels hiring as the country gets back to business. More resumes will mean the requirement of a higher focus on proper candidate pipeline management, accurately and effectively selling your brand, as well as getting the right team on board. This all means more time and energy required. Ask yourself, did they rock it? Look at your team members that are doing a great job and put in extra hours or pulled in double duty during the initial shutdown and throughout the pandemic. Also, look at employees that were doing a great job but were furloughed or laid off. These are the employees to look at first and promote to senior level roles. This will go a long way with morale and loyalty from those employees. Ask yourself, are they ready for management? If your employee is close to being ready for management, then promote from within. Did they work double duty and pick up 2 roles or maybe even 3? Then they are ready. Keep in mind, management training for someone that already knows your brand and property will take less time than someone that needs to learn all the quirks of your property. Again, it goes a long way with morale and loyalty from that employee. Ask yourself, are there other perks? If it isn't a fiscally feasible time to promote or return employees to full salary, then consider other perks like mentorship and increased scheduling flexibility. These additional perks don't have to take up extra funds. For example, identify employees across properties and job functions who could learn from each other. Bringing them together to learn can lead to future roles or employees taking on additional responsibilities and potentially splitting roles. This means no additional cost for the property, but the employee is getting a raise by taking on responsibilities for a role that doesn't need to be filled. Another option is for an employee to take on a new role now with a raise and back pay set for a future date. Recruiting internally will save the most money and build the highest amount of loyalty. Refresh your job descriptions. A large number of properties have a bare bones crew or have been closed for some time. Cleaning procedures have been added and updated. Positions may be pulling double duty for a while or permanently. Whatever the changes are, make sure to add details in your job descriptions and any other material. I'm a big fan of keeping these simple, but candidates need to know they'll be safe and have a clear understanding of what's changed. A few tips on job descriptions. Keep the description clean, simple, and to the point. Try to keep the job descriptions to your positions to 1 page. If it needs to be longer, then add a line at the bottom stating additional responsibilities apply and will be provided prior to the interview. If a job posting is too long, candidates will move on. Keep in mind that while candidates are looking for a job, they are more than likely busier than before the pandemic by juggling keeping themselves and maybe their families safe and entertained. If you don't have a current description, look for a boilerplate description. You can usually find these with corporate, online, or look at older job postings. and make sure to update to the current role and property. Add additional duties or details related to any changes due to the pandemic, even if temporary. Refresh your postings. Most properties are currently focusing on updating websites with COVID safety procedures and scrubbing their sites of group pictures. The same must be done with job postings. Yes, even with thousands of available candidates out in the world, you will need to post your jobs. If candidates don't see the new postings, they will assume you don't have any new opportunities. Clear out the old postings and replace with fresh new job listings. With new positions, they will show up closer to the top of the search for candidates to be able to apply. I provided a list where you can easily post now. This list is sure to change. Make sure to update or upload new job postings to LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, Career Builder, Dice, Workable, Job.com, Twitter, Facebook and Facebook groups, local, hospitality, school alumni groups, your management company's website. Don't forget to share with your network of colleagues, your ATS, applicant tracking system, which should be connected and show up on your property website. Let's think about your website and ATS. All property and company websites should have a career page attached to an ATS, applicant tracking system. This will assure you that no candidates will be left behind, meaning they won't fall through the cracks. There is nothing worse than accidentally ghosting a candidate for no other reason than disorganization and lack of an ATS. Plus, it gives you the ability to search for a skill set and location. You'll be able to track the candidate's process through calls, interviews, and ultimately to offer. If your organization uses an ATS, look back at past jobs and applicants. This step is often missed. These are candidates that already know your organization and can be viewed as a warm lead. This untapped resource can speed up the search process when needed, as well as reduce administrative and personnel costs and alleviate compliance concerns. So you don't currently have an ATS. Unfortunately, there's no one-size-fits-all applicant tracking system for every organization. Make sure you do your due diligence when looking at pricing, features, and functionality. If you don't currently have an ATS, I've listed a few options to help you get started. Just remember that an ATS is as good as the information being put into the system. Think garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have an ATS, and until you're able to get one, how about a dedicated email? It may sound old school, but it works. So, at the very least, there should be an email for a recruiter or a manager to be able to find and review each resume. Look to see if a dedicated email already exists. This is usually a step taken in the infancy of a business. If so, it may have a lot of resumes already waiting for you. Whether it already exists or it's newly created, make sure there is a dedicated person assigned to reviewing resumes to avoid the dreaded email black hole. Large and small organizations have made and continue to make this mistake. The inbox for resumes sits full or the ATS is never checked. A recruiting best practice to live by is to check the ATS or email folder and review the resumes often. Try to respond in a timely manner, even if it's just to notify the candidate that they aren't moving forward in the process. Keep in mind that there are free and very inexpensive ATS options that can assist in simplifying and speeding up the response process. Pay attention to social media. As you may know, social media is an easy way to connect with a large pool of potential candidates. If your property doesn't have any social media accounts, this is a great time to create them. You might be able to use personal accounts as long as they are a good representation of your organization and approved by management. LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are current staples. I'm sure that list will change, but these are the basics right now. Don't forget to share links to your updated jobs, cleaning procedures, and website on these free channels. This doesn't mean you have to post every day and that it needs to consume your life. This is just an easy way for people to find you. Hopefully, your account pops up on their search, and now you have a great candidate applying for your opening. If your property is part of a bigger brand, have them share the details of your property and jobs on their social media channels, if possible. Anything helps. Your talent pipeline. The focus of recruiting will more than likely be on staffing up for the hotel's reopening. This approach misses potential staff underperformance, sudden walkouts, and the simple idea of keeping an eye out for available top talent. Even just one beloved employee leaving the property can lead to a mass exodus, and guests will definitely notice. A hotel's recruiting team, whether internal or outsourced, should always split its focus between openings, busy seasons, and building a strong pipeline. Here are a few rules to live by for any recruiter, GM, or anyone else in charge of finding top talent. Identifying qualified candidate. You will most likely be inundated with the resumes through the 25 plus million employees that have been laid off in hospitality alone. This is the time to stick to candidates that meet requirements. Internal referrals and colleague referrals can be extremely helpful to shorten the process of identifying qualified candidates. Your ATS. Have qualifying questions in the submittal process within your website, through the ATS, or when responding to submittal via email. This will help you skip the step of having to disqualify candidates further down the line. Review the resume and don't contact candidates that will get disqualified based on the experience on their resume or lack thereof. Yes, this needs to be covered. Time and time again, candidates are contacted in the hopes that they do in fact meet the requirements. If at any point the resume itself will be a deciding factor, then disqualify the candidate. Don't forget to document all details in your ATS. This will stop you from having to re-review candidates at a later date. Have a thank you email handy or in your ATS to send to candidates when they are disqualified. A big complaint from candidates is never hearing back after they spent their time adjusting a cover letter or filling out an online application. Next step. Try to only move candidates to the pre-screen phone interview stage if they meet a minimum of 80% of the requirements based on their resume. Let's cover alternate ways to build your pipeline. A mini internal on-site job fair may be doable based on where we are with the pandemic, local or state restrictions, and if you have the space. You can even share or split it with a sister property. This will save time and weed out any candidates that aren't serious. A large outside patio or conference room that allows for fresh air through open windows will be ideal. You can post this on your site, social media, and email candidates directly or through your ATS. To make it even safer, have the candidates register for a specific time. Let them know to wear masks and social distance once they arrive. A note outside reminding their candidates to wear masks will be expected, and it shows that you care about their well-being and safety. Also include sanitizing stations throughout the space. This kind of on-property job fair can take the place of a phone screen. Make note of candidates you like and follow up with the request for an interview. Leave some time in between interviews in case you would like to extend the conversation and have a full interview then and there. Remember to also email the candidates to thank them for coming. Of course, it's safer to go with a virtual job fair. This is exactly what it sounds like. Promote a virtual job fair out to all your candidates. Have them sign up for 10 to 15-minute slots with available managers and recruiters. Give them the opportunity to sign up and speak to more than one person. This will provide the same results as the on-site job fair, but it will also be safer. It's best to hold the virtual job fair on a night that is typically slow for your property to allow multiple team members to take part. It will provide the candidates with a bit more of an understanding of your team. Let's dive right into your phone screening 101. Prior to the call, review all your open positions. It's always helpful to have this information on hand. As an interviewer, you always want to be the one that talks the least. The more the candidate talks, the more you find out about them. Your questionnaire. Having a base of preset questions to work from will provide a non-discriminatory and level playing field for all candidates. Cover the same preset questions with each candidate. Be clear and aware of your deal breaker questions. These are questions that if they aren't able to answer or don't have the experience, then the candidate doesn't move forward. If you make an exception for one, then re-review the answers for all previous candidates and make that exception for all. Don't stop when the candidate is disqualified. Think about and discuss other opportunities they might be qualified for and future potential opportunities. Make note of all this in your ATS. This step can help fill another role or a future role quicker. Communicate the status with the candidate. Even in a pandemic, and even if the candidate is unemployed, sell the job and the organization. Cover benefits, company values, and potential onboarding date. You want candidates to make decisions based on all the information and not just needing a job. Also, cover job duties and responsibilities as they can change greatly from property to property and brand to brand. During the phone screen, listen and keep an ear out for consistency or lack thereof. Make sure to ask about specific situations, so instead of asking candidates to tell of a time when, ask how they would handle a specific situation. Please don't ask candidates to sell you a pen, guess how many paper clips can fit into a stadium, or similar questions that have nothing to do with the job. This shows a lack of experience interviewing and a disconnect to the job. Do ask what they see as a good fit for them and their career path. Only move candidates forward when they meet 80% of the qualifications and seem like a company fit. Aim for a mix of candidates with varying backgrounds. Make it a habit to immediately send a thank you email once you hang up. This will let the candidate know they are appreciated. Uncovering dedication to the customer service experience. Even in the best situation, with a well-prepared plan and funnel building, making the final hiring decision can still be a challenge. There are certain traits of exceptional candidates that can help hotel leaders identify the right people. Dedication to customer service is a great place to start when looking for your next hire. Even at the top levels of an organization, dedication to the customer must come first, especially in the hospitality space. When they were building their newest hotel in Chicago, Virgin Hotels replaced all of the typical buttons of a phone, reservations, room service, etc., with one simple button labeled Yes. The same author who wrote the story about the Yes button also tells a great story about a local inn that saved a couple's romantic getaway that highlights the way customers at hotels should be treated. Identify candidates that are dedicated to the customer versus those that just say they are. To separate the wheat from the chaff, hiring managers can incorporate a few specific insights into the interview process. For example, when asking a candidate to identify an experience where they provided customer service that went above and beyond, be certain to make sure the candidate knows or remembers the customer's name or names. Someone who really made a customer's day will likely remember that person's name or some other characteristic. By asking for details about a story, a hiring manager can better identify people for whom customer service really matters. You can also use your property's guest experiences. Look at complaint cards for real property situations that have occurred. See how a candidate would have handled things differently. Also, ask the candidate, if they had free range to implement anything that would enhance overall guest experience, what would it be? This can give you a bit of insight on how the candidate thinks and what they might do when left to their own devices. Test their knowledge. Travelers usually want to take advantage of local opportunities, and for hoteliers especially, it's important to prioritize local knowledge. Local dive bars, family attractions, off-the-beaten-path restaurants are common requests from guests, and the ability to answer these questions effectively can be the difference between a mediocre stay and an amazing experience. That's not to say that you can't hire from another city. It's more important that a manager have a plan to find the types of places that a guest may request. Key questions to ask during the interview process might include the types of places they are recommending to their guests in their current town or around their property and how they found out about them. If they have already relocated, ask what they've already discovered in their new town and what they plan to do in order to become an expert in all things that guests might enjoy. COVID will change what they can recommend right now, but they should still have a plan. Another way to identify a candidate's versatility and ability to generate local knowledge is to ask about the most fun thing they've done over the past few months. This question may identify the candidate's willingness to go out of their comfort zone and to find new experiences. A willingness to show flexibility of interest can be very helpful in hiring someone who can make great recommendations for guests. Again, this is an aspect of life that may have been affected by COVID. If they haven't done much recently, then ask about the last adventure they went on prior to COVID. In the current state of the world, employees will need to reconnect with their contacts or connect with attractions and find out if the locations are open, what measures the attractions are taking to keep people safe, and new requirements visitors will need to comply with. Being able to provide the information to guests will affect what they can do and can't do. It will also make their visit an easier one. Make sure your new potential employees are open to gathering up such helpful information. Seek out their sociability. It's imperative that leaders make sure all online interactions the company has are either positive or leading to a resolution of any issues. For instance, if a customer sends a less than flattering tweet to a hotel chain, the corporate communications and customer service teams need to be able to remediate the issue. In cases where those tweets are specific to a local hotel where a stay is taking place, that same corporate team needs to be able to respond in real time, with input from someone at the hotel location. For example, if a guest tweets that they wish they had more towels, The coordination between a social media team and local hotel should have a guest services person at the hotel door with more towels almost immediately. So, how do you identify whether a candidate understands all of the components of this type of real-time and digital world feedback? To start, ask about the candidate's social presence. Are they on multiple platforms? Are they aware of various tools that consolidate various sites in one location? Ask if they read any particular blogs or publications focused on the medium. From Mashable to Forbes, Hootsuite to the Social Times, there is no shortage of materials being written to discuss how to best use social media for customer service. If the candidate doesn't have the best social media presence, ask them what they would do to change this and what they've done in the past in order to learn new things. This will show how the candidate will address challenges outside of the familiar. With most people stuck at home, a large number of the population have turned to social media for entertainment as well as gaining new knowledge. Your candidate's social media could give you an understanding of who they are under pressure. Ask have they been spending their time at home and if they've gained any new skills or took a class. This may not apply to those with families due to the time homeschooling can take. Determine the cultural fit. Company culture includes a variety of elements, including work environment, company mission, value, ethics, expectations, and goals. Corporate culture fit is a key ingredient to a successful leader, and making sure that someone is a fit professionally is critical to making hires that will stay for the long term. It's especially important to make sure the candidate culture fit is right when bringing on a new team member due to the added stress of the virus. Team members will be working harder than ever to get properties back up and running, and if they can enjoy the time together, it will be easier on everyone. Always keep in mind, cultural fit is not about hiring the same type of person, but more about people that can work well together. It will also be a financial and time setback if new hires need to be replaced. Diversity should always be a focus. Create a corporate culture analysis. Recruitment firms like ours have a corporate culture analysis for both our clients and candidates to identify synergies before making an introduction. In many cases, this can serve to eliminate candidates who are qualified on paper, but who may ultimately not stay for long. To identify cultural fit within a candidate for yourself, first identify the traits that make people in this role successful, as well as what makes them happy in their role. It can really be anything. This might be as simple as a level of friendliness amongst the staff, an out-of-office program that lots of employees participate in, perhaps support a sports league, or any number of other things. When doing a cultural analysis, identify multiple variables that can combine to make up a corporate culture. Discover your culture environment by covering the following. Is there employee involvement in setting their own performance goals, or are they preset and unchanging? Is performance feedback provided often or left for yearly performance reviews or rarely provided? Role congruity. Is there consistency between the role, expectations, and tasks assigned? This can be tricky right now since employees may need to wear many hats or tasks may be added due to the changing environment based on the virus. Make sure to communicate the changes and or provide training. Role titles and even salary eventually will need to be adjusted accordingly. Are processes and procedures defined? Is there flexibility based on new findings or recommendations? If not, will they need to be defined by the employee? Does leadership hold employees accountable for processes and procedures if and or when they're set? Do reward and recognition programs exist? If not, can they be created? If so, will there be employee involvement? Is there a formal or informal mentoring program? If so, what does that look like? Mentoring programs are a great tool to keep employees engaged. This can be easily set up by coordinating monthly lunches with senior management and different level employees, or assigning buddies that can connect with employees. Are there tools and resources easily accessible for employees to be able to perform at a high level or exceed expectations? Is there flexibility for employees to add previously utilized tools they've had success with, or other commonly used industry tools they feel they require to succeed? Is there a clear set plan for how they can grow in the organization? If not, will there be one created, and will there be employee input? Can they apply to other roles throughout the department or properties and easily move around, or only grow within their current property or position? Conduct an employee survey asking open-ended questions about why people like working there. Have HR look for trends. Those are generally what define the culture either at a particular hotel or across an organization. Interviews are a necessary part of building your dream team. Even more energy needs to go into this step than everything else involved in recruiting. While this is not usually the first contact with a candidate, this is the most important one and the last one before an offer is extended. So here are a few tips to successfully help you through the process. Only bring in candidates you would hire that have resumes that appeal to you and the team. Never bring in a candidate that has an issue in their resume that might keep them from getting a job. If said candidate's background doesn't include the experience or skill set they will need, then don't waste their time. I say this because time and time again, I've seen managers interview candidates and then find issues with something they knew in advance. This wastes time and it leaves a bad impression. Schedule a number of interviews close to each other. Shoot for the same week if possible. This makes comparing candidates easier. It also helps the process move along faster since you can quickly decide who to bring back if you're doing multiple interviews. Speed is always necessary. Remember to cover the same set of questions with each candidate. This will make it so you can compare the candidates fairly. This is an important step, so don't skip it. Often interviewers think they'll remember everything, but with a lot of interviews and your regular job, things will be forgotten. You might even forget the reason why you loved a candidate. Make sure to keep notes. Dive into the role and leave no stones unturned. This is a time to cover all responsibilities of the role. Challenges, what will make the future employee successful, what they'll need to focus on, goals, growth plan, and any other details that will help them make an informed decision. Dive into the organization. Make sure to discuss the company mission as well as the values in depth. Once the culture is identified, it's important to focus on whether a candidate will fit into that culture. This doesn't mean that candidates need to be the same. This means that they need to be able to work well together, have similar values, and abide by those company values while they're at work. Use the cultural analysis. There are also some key questions to ask candidates during the interview process to identify whether a candidate will be a cultural fit, which can be drawn from the employee survey. Ask questions like, do you enjoy said identified cultural elements, or anything that's similar? If so, why? Example, if multiple employees mention the soccer league they're a part of, a candidate who enjoys various athletic challenges, perhaps a runner, might be appreciative of this and feel like they're a better fit. This feeling will drive them and equate to them being a better fit. You can also ask the candidate if there is a social aspect created by their current employer. If so, what are the activities? If not, what would they change about the social aspect of their current employer? For a senior level employee, do they have a team? Do they plan on or hope to be able to bring any of their current team members with them, assuming there's no poaching language in their contract? This will show that they've worked on their current relationships and may show a willingness to work on new relationships. Adaptability is a key factor at any level. Additionally, ask about how formal or relaxed their current work environment is, and if they enjoy this aspect, or if they would like to change it, and why. Conflict resolution. Inquire about how they usually deal with conflict with employees or coworkers. Once again, in your question, you may want to include a type of issue you currently have. For a management role, it is preferable for the candidate to instinctively want to be a problem solver. Learn and network. Look for candidates that find different ways to learn and network. Candidates that make it a point to be knowledgeable about their town and their hotel can help guests have a better stay. Listen. The most important interview tip is to simply listen. People tend to listen to respond, and they miss the actual context of the conversation. It's important to listen to candidates' responses when they seem to be confident and when they aren't. At some point, they will, more than likely, answer one of your questions. If you listen, then you won't ask them what they've already told you. Keep a pen and paper handy and write down any questions that come up while they're talking so you still listen and don't interrupt. The more candidate talks, the more they reveal. Your ATS. Once again, keep detailed notes in your ATS. I can't stress this enough. If sharing notes with other managers, try to meet with the managers or the team members shortly following all interviews. You want to make sure to share the information when it's fresh and on your mind. Provide a realistic follow-up timeline. Let candidates know when you plan on getting back to them for the next step and what that next step is. Lastly, hiring. So, When to extend that offer and hire. This sounds like an obvious decision, but you might be surprised to learn how often the ball is dropped at this final step. Hire when you meet a candidate that is excited about the opportunity, is trainable, even experts need to be able to learn new skills, and is a good cultural fit. Don't wait to come across that perfect 10 out of 10. Sometimes that perfect candidate doesn't exist, or the person isn't available to you at that time. The perfect candidate may also turn out not to be what you needed after all. This happens a lot. A good rule of thumb is to hire candidates that meet at least 80% of the skill set, are available, are willing to learn and trainable, understand company values, and are happy with what you can pay. If a candidate is a 100% match but unhappy about pay, they will leave when they find what they're looking for. A few things to keep in mind. Resist the temptation to extend low-ball offers. Underpaid employees leave, and it ends up costing more time and money. Diversity. Hire diverse talent. You want to shoot for a variety of personalities, backgrounds, and different kinds of thinkers that can all work well together. Having a diverse team will help your property be even more successful because your team will be able to draw from their varied experiences to problem solve. It will also be more welcoming to not only your guests, but also to your team. If you walk into your hotel, office, or work event and everyone looks like a carbon copy of each other or management, then you need to reassess. Now don't forget, have a check-in and training plan. Check in and continue to train your great talent. Have a plan to sit down with your new employees after their first 30, 60, and 90 days. Beyond that, have a set time to check in monthly. It can be informal or a deep dive. Loyalty. Building loyalty in your team takes time, just like any other relationship. Your hotel will be that much more successful because of it. Hiring the right people is critical to setting a hotel up for success. It is apparent to guests when employees enjoy the work they're doing and when the team cares immensely about their guest experience. Using the information we just covered can help to better identify which candidates will be both successful and stay around longer. With certain internal processes, consistent focus, and a smart interview strategy, an optimal recruitment funnel is within your reach. Hoteliers are required to have a myriad of skills, from customer service to sales to analytical revenue management. The ability to excel in recruitment will make you more effective in other areas. A strong hire can change your leadership role for the better and allow you to do what you were hired to do: achieve hotel revenue goals. Begin by taking a few of the suggestions from each phase of the hiring journey and making them a reality. See how they influence your candidate search, recruitment funnel, and eventually your hiring decisions. You will start to realize what works best for your particular hotel company and eventually create a strategy that leads to success. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts and share any additional questions you may have. I appreciate your time and hope you have great success.